Hey, what's going on, family? It's your boy MC Fire tapping in Monday morning. We are rocking and rolling. So, if you guys had an opportunity to watch the Sunday video, you'll see that essentially we're looking at a couple main plays, primarily um, kind of off the wall, but you got corn lined up here, potentially giving us our entry already pre-market. It's already at 18.31 on the bid when we kind of needed to cross 18.34. So could see that entry here pretty soon as we look to open. We're also going to take a look at the SPY starting out and the Qs. SPY looking real strong. Definitely a morning push there for the SPY. We also have on the weekly a very nice push on the SPY. So if you're looking for a long-term position, right, SPY is a little extended, right? Kind of would have liked to buy it if you were looking to get into the SPY on like 1031 November 1st kind of deal. That's kind of where you'd be looking to kind of buy that pullback over here. That's how we typically do it. But SPY is kind of pushing towards absolute highs there. So we'll move this bad boy up there. We want to just kind of note that, hey, we are making new highs at 606.37 in the morning. So very strong. If you guys don't know, there's been some reshuffling, rebalancing of the. This is also news we didn't kind of cover in the Sunday video. We had a pretty nice rebalancing to add and include one of my favorites, Palantir. Palantir actually got added to the Qs. So shout out to Palantir with that news. Maybe the news got leaked or whatever. Probably that's why it ran, but really didn't matter. We've been in the Qs since down here. Like essentially, we were looking at the Qs at like $8.76. So that's kind of when we kind of made that commitment, major commitment too. So shout out to us for that. So Palantir got added along with some other things, getting added there. So we're just tracking that and seeing what happens. Speaking of the Qs on the morning, we'll kind of take a peek at those. As you can see right now, it's 6:04 currently, so the market has some time before it opens. But as you can see immediately, this is on the 10-minute chart. The market has since pushed since close and kind of gapped up to all-time highs. So that's something to keep in note. Pushing up to all-time highs. It's kind of what you want to see. It's not necessarily bad or good if you're a buyer. We've been a buyer in the Qs since around this level of 11.19. Taking that, we like our indices setups. They're a lot harder to get stopped out, but when they do, you can take a small stop out. But when they work, they really work. So you could take this play right here. This one ended up working out real nice for a couple doubles. This one we worked out on 3 rolls for the Qs. So we're still, I believe we're still in this play. Make sure, double check. I'm pretty sure we are. Included in that also is the news of AVGO to see if it's continuing to push. It appears to be, according to the bid ask here. We were tracking this yesterday. It did a slight pullback, but it's now pushing. So all-time highs is now up here. We'll go ahead and move that up to there. Boom. That's where your high is, and yeah, that's where we're sitting currently. So if it opens at this level, will be a nice juicy push. We might look to take some more off the table there. The only reason why we would take more off the table even at this level is because I think we're almost going to be required to. Oh, never mind. Take that back. Our high side sell is at 250. That's right. That's right. So not necessarily might have to take anything off the table, but we don't want to let it go too negative. So this is kind of the point where you could say, well, you're in profit. Let's go ahead and start moving some stop losses up to some pivot points so we can kind of lock in some of those profits. You could say if it goes to fill the gap. You can just get out at break even on the roll, and nothing to write home to mom about because we've already made profits there. So that's something to look at. We have plays also to look at. We went over kind of the in plays for yesterday, so we're kind of just waiting on the market open. But the major news again, it's a rebalancing of the S&P 500 or the Qs, and one of those things that was rebalanced in there was Palantir. There was also some other stuff that was rebalanced in there. Here, I'll probably try to pull it up for you guys. Give me a second. Nope, don't have it there. Okay, so it's not right behind there. We're not going to go searching for it, but um, essentially the Qs were rebalanced, and that's good news for Palantirs and others that are in that. I think we might have it down here. MSTR. Okay, so Micron Strategies is a name that I've been hearing a lot in news chatter, and we can go take a look at like some of these key players. So Micron Strategies definitely did push, very nice push to highs on this trend of 543, starting all the way at 137. So massive push. They actually had a 10-to-1 stock split as well. So this thing has been reduced and still sees this massive fall through. That is huge. I think this might have been one of the things that was added to the S&P 500. Notice though that just because it gets rebalanced and this gets added, this thing has already kind of left the barn there, and it's gone. So this already gone parabolic, and you can see that you're essentially the news that is going to be added to the the Nasdaq, the QQQ really in particular means that hey, it's probably already left the gate. If you look at MSTR, if you look at PLTR, okay, already kind of left the gate there, super hyperextended, right? And essentially at this point, you're waiting for pullbacks or looking for pullbacks to put it in your portfolio, right? But it is now something that's on your watch list because it is being added to those major ETFs. So just keep that in mind. That doesn't mean just because it's being added to the ETF, just go and buy it. We still want to keep to our rules, still keep to our fundamentals. But it's an exciting time. You can also look at the Bitcoin ETF here. See what's going on with Bitcoin. Major push in Bitcoin. So shout out to Bitcoin. We are holders of the major ETFs. So the so-called what they call Santa rally might be in full effect. I don't kind of buy into stuff like that because you know most of the market, believe it or not, relative to the ones that are name brands, is actually slumping. This has been the highest slump in the market around this time period since 2008. So even though you see a lot of the market, the S&P 500 and the Qs pushing, most of the market is down, which means that there is some consolidation, really hard consolidation of wealth. The winners are winning and the losers are losing. Like for example, we took a play to the downside via Johnson & Johnson, and it was a nice base hit, but you could see really struggling. This is a name brand that absolutely got hammered. You also have even major companies like AMD kind of struggling, looking to kind of get out of the gate there, but struggling. You can see it here. It's kind of treading water after its major pullback off of Friday. You also had a NVDA, not necessarily per its weight. It's kind of struggling to get above recent pivot highs. So if we can't see like a major 7 company like NVIDIA just absolutely crank, even though the Qs in the S&P 500 are absolutely making massive returns, then, what's that say? Yeah, it means you need to be a little bit more pointed on your positions. Don't just buy everything because everything is in the news. Stick to the things that the setups that are clean, because there might be some rug pulling going on. So just something to keep in mind. in NVDA, AMD, ASML. Let's take a look at that one. Another name brand, right? ASML struggling to get out of the gate here, right? Um, but for a value buy, ASML could be a really good value buy here. You could see that per 3 ATR, you were giving opportunity to go ahead, and if you're going to be have a buy bias, actually wouldn't be a bad idea. What you could do is buy some, put it on your radar, and then look to then you could look to add once the trend changes. That's typically like how I want to do it. So if I want to be a long-term buyer, what I'll do when it gets really low PLTR, I'll kind of show you what I mean here. So we were buying PLTR. We bought a few shares back here. It was even in a downtrend. We kind of anticipated that it would maybe potentially rotate to the upside here. We just bought a few just in case, and we would be looking to add. But then we started really sizing in here and here as the trend actually confirmed. So you can be a buyer just so you can put it on your watch list, keep tabs on it. But wait to really get the go run to the bank and really really hit it with something significant after you see the trend change, after you see some confirmation. So you might be not catching everything off the bottom, but I'm pretty sure you'll be okay if it runs for the next year and you're part of that and you're buying and holding that. That's kind of really the point. You do have unbalanced volume kind of trending to the upside. So if you want to be a buyer in names like ASML, like this is what you should be screaming from the mountaintops. Boeing is what you should be screaming at the mountaintops, right? This is what you should be screaming at the mountaintops, not Palantir, not the Googs, the Metas, stuff like this. This is a name brand defense company that is one of like 3 companies that does builds commercial air. I think you have Airbus, Boeing, and like a new Chinese startup company that's state sponsored. This is what you should be screaming from the mountaintop. It's been hit with bad news after bad news. I think recently Air Force One would be delayed in being delivered to the president because another 400 layoffs are happening from Boeing. The plant up here in the Pacific Northwest has seen significant hardship due to some of the strikes that were happening. They were losing billions of dollars per day. It was insane. The other companies haven't really capitalized on that, but if you're looking for a really good juicy buy, I'm telling you, like this is what you're looking at for to make your gear. If the company can figure out and recover, you've got a name brand like Boeing that has kind of a moat in the market, and if it could turn itself around, really see some major returns. But most people aren't going to start talking about it until it starts hitting all-time highs or hitting an all-time high, right? So this is why channels like this are important, is because you'll see something like Boeing, you'll see something like ASML, right? These companies that are name brand and no one across the wider news wants to kind of shout them out or give them a heads up. Um, Everyone's talking about Tesla. Everyone's talking about Palantir and how much money they made on Tesla, Palantir, AVGO. I'm kind of guilty of that. We have an active position in that currently, but the real play, the real setups, the ones that you can make your money on the buy on, are stuff like ASML and Boeing. You can see here that you kind of want to buy the rumor, buy the whisper, buy the trend change, and then sell the news. So while everybody's got the news on these things and it can continue to rise, keep your runners, but you've already made your money. PLTR. While everyone's talking about PLTR and AVGO and Tesla, you've already made your money. You've already bought all the way through here. And when it starts making its rally and is hitting the news, you're actually scaling out, keeping your runners. They're fueling your add-ons, which is kind of insane when you think about it. All the people that are getting in late, we don't want to be those people here. We want to be in early. So definitely, if you're the first time tuning in, stay here because we will bring to you some of the best plays that are undervalued first and will be laughing to the bank while everybody else is trying to figure out why the rug pull happened. You've got, let's go take a look at Apple here. So Apple, again, kind of got its stuff together. It was kind of in this rotational zone. Kind of a little worried about Apple there while the Qs were pushing and everything else is pushing. Apple is also out the gate and is pushing. We don't know about this morning though, but essentially the highs of Apple were at 250, and currently it is rejecting these current levels. So if Apple is able to rotate and complete its rotation, what do I mean by rotation? You have this 250 rotation to roughly 246. I'll mark that out for you guys. There's a clear rotation between 250 and 246. So if you've got Apple, you're holding it, you could expect to see maybe potential rotation on the morning 246. I'm going to mark this in yellow because it's not necessarily a major line, but the market is respecting that as regards to the intraday, right? The weekly rotation is not there. We kind of reserve our white lines for the weekly rotations, but as you can see for the day, that rotation between 250 and 246 is pretty pronounced within this past week. So I think it hit it a few times actually. Yeah, as it pushed there, tested that 260 or relative 260 level, kind of adjust a little bit, but yeah. So we pushed to high 250.8, and then it's been rotating ever since. So you can expect, hey, if you have a plan in this bad boy, make sure you act accordingly. And if it crosses above, this zone and you're a short seller, then act accordingly. If you're a buyer, like you look to go long, right, make sure you have a plan in place. Really, in this channel, we really harp on plans. You can be a little flexible, you can bend, but do not break your plan. That is for sure. ARK. Take a look at some ARK here. Kind of overlooked also in the big tussle and bustle. Kathy Woods gets a lot of heat when she's wrong, but nobody ever really talks about when the trend changed. So ARK has, since the trend has changed, and already in the pre-stages of a major rally. Now, you talking about the Qs, Tesla, Palantir taking off. ARK Technologies is probably one of those things that is kind of overlooked. Here we go. The trend has changed in ARK. You got a massive, super massive rally. So keep that on the watch list there. There was a couple buy triggers back here. Stop out at the low. Same thing. Stop out at the low. You can add on there, and it absolutely takes off. It's not too many places where you're going to get a heads up that this is about to, this right here, this rip is about to absolutely take off. But with our system that we've developed over here, you can definitely do that. We already kind of talked about Bitcoin. One of my favorites, SCHD. Looking on the pullback with some setup candles and a strong uptrend. This is kind of one of those buy and holds. We like this. It is pinging off the 2802 level to the downside. So hopefully you can find some support and start generating some setup so we can start taking some positions. We probably still might just average into this puppy. So getting some shares of SCHD, really good dividend stock, really good trend. So shout out to that. We're going to go take a look at Sophie. So Sophie is also one of those ones that have been in the name. A lot of chatter around Sophie, people making a lot of money in Sophie, mind crushing returns. I'm not sure if these channels were shouting out Sophie all the way down here at $7, but it has since hit $16. So one of these companies that is looking, because of its low price, for some very significant growth, very significant breakout growth, right? And if we could, the earnings are currently positive. So that is one thing that I would be looking forward to, is kind of looking at some of the fundamentals on this company as it goes from negative to positive. In major trend, any pullbacks would be also appreciated. But you also got to think with these low price stocks, people can really come in and hit it with some leverage. So name recognition and rallies kind of fuel more rallies. It's a little easier to buy stock at $16 and gobble it up than buy, let's say, a Tesla at like $160 something per leverage. Not really that the market cares. These people are dealing with millions and sometimes billions of dollars per trade. So it's just something to think about. for SoFi. Also, another one that has kind of reached my ear, IBIT, the uh, ETF for crypto. So you have crypto ETFs. So if you guys are looking to trade the volatility in crypto without being directly exposed to like going out and getting a wallet and all this other stuff, kind of staying kind of close to home while venturing out and trying something new. This is kind of the place you could do that, right? Um, we could take this and say, okay, well, you are in an uptrend. Throw me a setup candle and we'll see where it goes, right? Bitcoin has been absolutely on a tear. And as we showed you earlier, it will be a pretty strong contender with the new administration. I think they're a big fan of that. So we could see major potential returns in that asset class. You have a pullback here, right? And then there's a buy trigger. There's also a buy trigger here. So system still works even in something that's single asset class like an ETF, because essentially the market conditions are participants and what they're willing to pay versus what where they're currently at in the position. Behavioral analysis, behavioral economists will basically validate kind of our stance on this. Take a look at Microsoft. So Microsoft, as it stands right now, um, up here in its rotational high zone, which is good. You can see currently today it's struggling to kind of get out of the gates. It's not quite like the Qs. So it's very interesting to see, Microsoft is kind of struggling to get out of the gates, and some NVDA is struggling to get out of the gates, but the Qs are really pinging up highs. Not sure how we'll be able to sustain that, being that Microsoft is so heavily weighted, Apple so heavily weighted. So I'm just gonna have to watch, wait and see, but I'll take it. We're not in the necessarily the individuals like Microsoft. We are in we are in NVIDIA for the leap. Full disclosure, we are in NVIDIA for the leap, but we are not. We are also in AVGO, Broadcom, for the rest of the week here, and we are, I believe, in the Qs. We can go actually take a peek at that now. I keep referencing it. Yeah, here it is. So we are there. So shout out to us for the Qs. Um, we've rolled it so many times. It's pretty cool. Also, another thing too that I really like, Chipotle, really good fundamentals there. For Chipotle, I kind of forgot to talk about this one in the Sunday meeting as well. So Chipotle, shout out to Chipotle, uptrend here, but setup candle kind of punched on it on the wrong side of there, right? Probably should have waited for this setup candle. This is around the time when we were experimenting, so I figured I'd take a play just to see if the buy triggers, just the standard green buy triggers or setups, can in and of themselves be really good triggers. But it didn't work out that way, and this is one of the ones that kind of cued me in. Hey, you probably need to wait for the guys to get off sides in the territory in the wrong territory, before you see this massive rip. We do take losses, but over here, losses aren't an opportunity for you to just beat yourself up. Losses are lessons. So this lesson was a very, very valuable one that's making us a lot more money, right? Stock split 50-1. On average, a stock split means that a company will within the 12-month period will reach its high by about 12%. So positive stock splits are very, very good. We like to see that because it shows strength, it shows health, especially if that asset is pinging off its relative highs already. So if it's pinging off its relative highs, which Chipotle was doing, and it had a 50-1 stock split, even though it had a massive pullback, the trend is now changed. Oh, sorry. The trend is now changed, and it is pushing back towards relative highs there. Yeah, it's pretty early over here on the West Coast, but that's kind of why we like it. If you have a job on the West Coast, you can get up at 4:30 and essentially start trading at 4:30 if you can get into before market trading, and for retail traders, like 6:30 is kind of your start. So when 6:30 hits, that's good because you can essentially trade maybe for potentially an hour before you have to be at work at like 8 or something like that. So it's actually a really cool gig. Whereas on the West Coast or Central, you're probably already at work or out the door and doing stuff. So yeah. We'll stick with you guys through up until market open. We've got TSM and nice juicy setup here for TSM. It's already pushing out of the gate here. Yep, it is a 203. Massive push there on the play. So ideally, we want to see that breach for that. Coming in a little late for TSM, but the reality is we're not going to chase it. We would have loved to get the pullback. There it is, boom, happen, and then your stop out would be here. What would be the position and setup for that? We'd be essentially aiming for the first sign of danger, which is 212, and then the next sign of danger would be 227, right? Those are the two spots where we're like, hey, you have 3 ATR on the weekly is kind of where we can expect to see it. It's been there before and pulled back, but yeah, that's kind of good zones for us to take profits, right, off our vertical there. TSM is Taiwan Semiconductors, and anything in the semiconductor and AI space is kind of pinging really good stuff. So we'll make sure we keep you guys abreast on Taiwan Semiconductors as well, just so you guys are tracking what's going on in the hottest stocks, AI and Teslas and the Palantirs and the SoFis, right? All these are hot picks for sure. Something that has recently kind of gotten slammed, but might make a comeback. The only thing that I noticed that's unfortunate is unbalanced volume is extremely negative. Apologies. Unbalanced volume is extremely negative. So if we get a cross above here in this uptrend, could look to see maybe a V-shaped reversal. Not too keen there, but if you notice, earnings has been reported as good. So if you're talking about this deep of a pullback, I'll take it. We just want to make sure that watch the news for any kind of turnarounds and stuff like that. But again, also before we go, guys, remember that Wednesday is the Fed going to cut rates. The Fed will be cutting, well, I won't say will because we don't know what will happen, but there is a 97% chance by analysts that the Fed will move to cut rates again from that 4.5 to 4 3/4, down to 4.25 to 4.5. So if you're looking in that area, just kind of keep that in mind that is happening Wednesday and set your risk accordingly. Guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you for the expertise and giving me your time in the market on this Monday. You guys have a wonderful week, and we'll chat it up soon, guys. Thank you. Have a good day, and goodbye.